58 years to figure out kind of what our purpose is. So I thought that I know how to physically help. Sometimes not, maybe I can't teach and preach and speak like, preacher or Sunday school class teachers, but, I can do physical labor. So I've only been on one mission trip, and of course it was with my dad. So I decided I would do this in his honor, kind of, sort of. And it was my birthday, so here we go to, I wish I had a button, but here we go to Mercy and Grace Ministries. This is a partnership with North Carolina, and I think it is pretty much in Charlotte. And so they have a partnership just like with Brazil, or no, y'all went to Africa, right? So there's a partnership with United States and Africa. So this is a partnership, and these were the two leaders. The lady is Miss Diane, and she is the president of the North Carolina part of it. And then Brian was actually our leader on this trip. And so once we got to Honduras, they now have a bus, and so we loaded up on the bus. And I really wish these pictures were a lot bigger. Maybe you can see better this way. So this is some of the sights that we saw on our journey from the airport to Mercy and Grace House, which was about 6 hours on this bus. And so we had some pavement. As you can see in this picture, was some pavement, and there's streets, and this, you can't see it very well in this pictures, but I mean, they just throw trash everywhere. It amazes me why people can't throw trash in a trash can. It takes about 2 seconds, because this is our world and this is our country, and we got to take care of it. But they don't. And we saw horses and donkeys, and people, that's their mode of transportation. But there was also beautiful countryside on the way. So once we get to Mercy House, Friday night, these were our bunks for a few days, which I thought, hey, this is not too bad, right? Because, Honduras is supposed to be a third world country, poor and all that. And I'd seen some stuff, but the houses looked pretty good, or the building we were in. And this is the kitchen area, so this is where we obviously ate. And the ladies that were the preacher's wife and another, I'll say, missionary who was kind of over it, those ladies cooked for us all week. No matter where we went, they cooked for breakfast, lunch, and supper. And this was I took pictures of all, but I won't show you any more but this one. This was the food that they prepared. So every night we had true Honduran, I'll say, food. So the next day we got up super early. Every day was 6 o'clock to start our day. And we packed, because we were doing a medical clinic, we packed bags. So we took all these supplies over there with us. You had a big old bottle of aspirin, and we sorted them into bags of 30, because there were a lot of people who needed help, but we didn't have the medicine to give to all of them. And so we made emergency bags that had toothpaste, toothbrush, a roll of toilet paper, necessity bags. Over there, that's kind of like a commodity like it is over here. The only difference is, for you kids, they do not flush toilet paper down the toilet. It's a no-no, and believe me, you'll figure that out if you do it wrong. So after we got all the bags packed, which took us the better part of the whole day, then we had a vacation Bible school with the kids that walked in that area to where we were. And we did a skit with them, and it was just a simple skit of Moses and the burning bush. But they were very receptive to it. So we sat outside, and we did the skit with everybody. And then next, they had a craft. Move on. Boop. Yep. So after the Bible school, then we broke into 2 sessions, and we had a Bible study for the women, and we had a Bible study for the men that came to us, and this was just an activity we were going over. So far I'm thinking, this is not too bad, right? Sort of like back home. That night we had church, and their church is a lot different than ours. As far as they had a band, which you can see some of the young people up there. That was their music. They had all young people up there, and they were awesome. And so the lady to the left, her name is Victoria, and she was one of our interpreters because there's a barrier. And some of them spoke either none or very broken and very small amount of English. So you had to have an interpreter so that you could be able to communicate with them. And that was hard. That was, that was kind of hard. So this, yeah, that's all right. So this is actually what their church looks like. It's the building, and then you had a covered shelter, and that's their church. It's always outdoors. So, and these nice little lounge chairs we sat in. So the next day that was on Sunday afternoon, because we had church Saturday night because they were voting on Sunday. So you couldn't have church on Sunday. We had it Saturday night. So on Sunday afternoon, we loaded up. We had 3 trucks that we loaded. We had 30-some people that had to get up the mountain. And so we rode on the back of the truck, 18 miles for 2 hours. And all of our luggage and our supplies went into the dump truck. And that's how it got up the mountain. And these are some pictures that we saw going along. These are my hands because that's where I held for 2 hours going up the mountain, because their roads they're not like our roads. Sometimes we complain about our little potholes. No, they're not paved and they're rough. And this is just the way their life. And these are some things that we saw all along. There was some water here, and there was a person there, and they said when they first started coming, they kind of swam, but they got away from that because they don't have a filtration system, and so their water is very unclean, and you can't just swim in it and not get sick. So, and these are some of the houses that we saw going. This was normal. This was a normal house with no windows and no doors. And this was, they don't know any different. Their construction is, if the bridge messes up, then we'll just do a new one. They don't fix some of their stuff that has broken. I don't know why, but that was a bridge that had gotten flooded out or something, they said, and so they just made a new one. And this is still going up the mountain, so normal stuff. I just throw the pictures. So once we got up the mountain, this is the second part of, I'll say, Mercy and Grace, but this is the preacher's house is on the right, and then this building is where they're building it for the volunteers that come to stay in. And this was our cell tower right here with the swing, because that's the only place you could get service. Yeah, it was very, 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 very spotty. And this was inside of the girls. The guys slept downstairs. I guess theirs looked like ours, kind of, sort of. But this was where we slept. There was about 17, I think, in our room. So we had cots, but we did have foam mattresses, so that helped out a whole lot. And we had doors, and we had a window. However, there's about a 3-foot gap between the ceiling and the roof. So when it rained or the wind blew, yes, that's what came into our rooms. But we were happy we had a door and a window. And this was our facilities. And I know that this was our shower, because when I showed it to Eddie, he was like, "Oh, that's what they shower in." I said, "No, this was our shower. This was the good shower." Just saying. And we had cold water, nice cold water. They don't have hot water, or if they did, we never saw any. And you didn't have doors to the bathroom. You had little curtains, and because the wind did like this, there was no privacy much. And this was our sink. Now we got, women, we got to have a mirror, so somebody had a little handheld mirror, and they somehow taped it, but I didn't get a picture of that. But we did have a mirror taped up there. So this was 3 days of this. And there's that gap I told you about. That's our ceiling that goes into our room. So whatever can fly over can, potentially make it to your bedroom. So, and they did have some pretty things. I saw one tree that had these avocados, or they could have been limes, I'm not sure. And I saw one pretty bush. When I tell you one, I saw one. And we did see a couple of bananas, but that's it. So when you think Honduras, I guess there's some stuff on there that's really pretty stuff, but we didn't see all that. That's not the part that we went to. We went to people that were needing anything and everything, and they were very receptive to Christians coming in. This is the pastor, the house. This is how they cook for us. This is their stove, or I guess that's a stove of some sort. They have to have fresh, wood to keep it going. This is how they wash clothes and the food. They didn't have running water like we have, a sink. The stuff that we take for granted, and I hate to keep looking at young people, but you're our generation. The stuff that we take for granted, they didn't have. But I don't think they really knew, because they're not, my granddaughter the other day, I'm bored. How can you be bored? These people have absolutely nothing, and they're happy with that. Next. This is the church at the top of the mountain. Last year when they went, they said they didn't have some of the walls, but they've gotten that finished. It's a very open church, so the wind comes through there. So even though it has walls, you notice they're not closed windows, and there's still a gap. So yes, it rained and had a lot of blowing wind, and so. But we had church in here, and this is where we did the medical clinic. And so this was one of our church services that we had, and that's the guy in the blue shirt's actually one of the doctors that went with us. He was a medical doctor, and so each night they picked at least two of us, and we were able to give our testimony, whatever testimony kind of that you wanted to give. Didn't necessarily have to be a salvation testimony, but whatever your testimony was. And we had an interpreter. And this is Ricardo, and so he is this mission project started because of him. He's the one that had the vision. This is the next night, the second night we were there, we packed food bags to give to anybody who came to the medical clinic, and they knew their communities.